You know, I've been talking a lot. Marky Billson, Tri-City Sports Now, 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, Tri-Cities, but also jetbroadcasting.live, and of course on archive or live, Facebook Live, on our Facebook page, 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, which is now the most followed sports radio station on Facebook in the market. Okay, we did that yesterday. And I'd like to actually think, I know that Knockahoma Nation, which of course Josh Brown does the podcast with Ken Hendricks, and he's with us now. You were, when we first started doing these things, at about 300 followers. Now you're up to about 900 followers. Is that correct?
Are you talking about Facebook?
I'm talking about Knockahoma Nation Facebook, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're not as big on Facebook as we are on the Twitters, Marky.
Yeah, I've heard Twitter, yeah. We're a little more on Facebook. I guess we're a little more old-fashioned or less, not as angry, that sort of thing. But yes, please go ahead, yeah.
Yes. But our Facebook has grown, for sure.
Anyway, but yeah, so that's really growing as well, and it shows you a little bit. I mean, it's a very good listen. I've said, hey, podcasts while I'm cooking. I like doing that. I was doing that yesterday, as a matter of fact, while I was frying chicken. There you go. Anyway, talk about traditional Southern, but maybe not the most healthy and all that. I'll tell you what's healthy for the Atlanta Braves. They're in first place. They've won 7 in a row since signing Dallas Keuchel, and although he's not on the team yet, I mean, he's still getting the kinks out down in Gwinnett. I don't know. I mean, is this scheduling? Because the Marlins and the Pirates, I mean, they both have losing records and are kind of at the bottom of the National League now. The Pirates have really been in a slump. They, just a couple of weeks ago, were actually tied with the Braves for a wild card berth, but no more. Or, I mean, could it somewhat be that, the team, hey, we got Keuchel, now we can start winning. That sort of mindset. What do you think it's more, the schedule or even just a shot in the arm of rotation's going to be much better? Why do you think the Braves have won 7 in a row?
I think you could chalk it up to talent, for sure. And obviously the Pirates aren't very good right now. The Marlins, they're the Marlins. So, the Braves haven't won 7 in a row against the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Red Sox, granted. But I think that we're seeing a great lineup. I mean, a fantastic lineup. We're talking about the second best record in the National League. So you can't just say it's the second best record in the National League just because they played a crappy team here and there. You know what I mean? It's a little more than that. And I think most of it is talent. I think minus Kevin Gossman, this pitching staff has actually been fantastic, and maybe Fulte as well. But Tehran, Lord. Julio Tehran has had a fantastic year, and obviously Max Fried, Mike Soroka, and the signing of Dallas Keuchel, I think, is going to just inject them into the arm and do some fantastic things for the team.
Why do you think why do you think Tehran is doing so well? Because we used to talk, I mean, he starts every opening day, but I remember we used to have these things as, Tehran, I mean, maybe he's that pitcher that wins the 5-4 game. I mean, Rick Mahler started every opening day, too, back in the day, and, these are good pitchers, but not great. But Tehran, maybe not yesterday, okay, but still, these are pitchers that are, now Tehran is doing so well. Do you think it's because he's coming into his prime, or what do you think the reason is with Tehran?
I think a little bit of it is that. We've obviously thrown shade at Tehran over the last couple of years, because he's had such a propensity to give up home runs way too often,
Mm-hmm.
And this year, it seems like he's keeping the ball down a little bit more. His velocity isn't great, so it's kind of weird. It's like, I don't understand it because I'm not Mike Fast. I'm not a player development guy, but it seems like he's keeping the ball down and he's got fantastic movement and better command. And a lot of Tehran too is fan fatigue. I mean,
mm-hmm.
he feels like he's this old guy. He's been with the Braves forever, but he's really young still, right? He's still young. He still has the ability to improve based on his age. And I think that's what we're seeing a little bit. So a little bit of it is maybe him coming into his own perhaps a little more and growing as a player and just getting better. And some of it is just maybe mental as well. He just seems like more formidable on the mound. sound, more confident. But I tell you what, I've been hard on him the last several years, as you know. But he's been just low-key fantastic. And nobody really talks about him on the national level, it seems. You don't really hear about him, but his ERA is great. Minus, the recent start, he's been fantastic.
Well, Trib Gibson, of course, yesterday was the home plate umpire for the Braves-Pirates game. And we had more ejections. I mean, sir, we'll get to Monday here, but Snitker got tossed out, as you do when you argue balls and strikes and such, or you ride the umpire about him and all this. But I know Chip Carey was talking about there's no consistency with this strike zone. Okay, but I'll let fans saw the game make their own opinion if Trib Gibson had consistency or not. But what was your opinion there? I mean, could that have been one of the reasons why this was, an 11-run game? Maybe that's modest scoring or so, but, it wasn't a pitcher's duel or anything. And, the scoring did seem to come, after 5 innings, it's 5-2 and all this. What was your thought there about how the game was called last night, or last afternoon, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's part of the beauty of the game, and you're going to have moments like that, and I think that I love, in a sport, there should be conflict. And without conflict, you don't have a sport. And the human element, I sound like an old curmudgeon here, but that's part of the game. You're going to have days where an ump does these things and is in a mood or has the propensity to, not give the inside corner as much as the umpire from, 2 nights ago, right? And so I think it's just part of the game. I do. I like it, and I kind of like the imperfections about it. I think that they should be held accountable more. I think that umpiring has been, it's almost like being a teacher, like you got to try really hard to get fired as a teacher. You get the job, and you're the 6th grade middle school, science teacher.
If and when you get tenure. Now, it can be difficult to get tenure, but no, because my mother, I don't know if you know this, my mother was a college professor, and what brought us to East Tennessee was ETSU, and she became tenured there, okay? Now, this was a woman who had a PhD from Bryn Mawr, but, you would have small-town Pennsylvania schools or something like that, and there was always, do you really fit in? I've got more sheepskin here than you'll have at the wool farm, come on, and all that, what you're saying is true when you're in the club. Yes, then it's difficult to fight. But
yeah, and they're not held accountable, and they should be. And so I think there's a good balance. I think there needs to be some kind of accountability there. I don't know what it looks like, but umpires, if you're not good over a long period of time, if you keep making bad calls, if the jury's out on you, then you should get either let go or sent back down or something, and that just never happens, right? So there needs to be that. But I'm totally, vehemently anti, robot strike zone. I mean, I think that takes away framing. It takes away a ton of stuff. And so,
Now, here's my thing about robot strike zone is that, let's say you put it in the majors, how are you going to put it in Little League? I mean, what I look at then is that, when you have the lower levels, you still want to give the highest type of level of play. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you want to have, you don't want it to feel like it's second best baseball. And
it also,
you're never going to be able to have little leagues. I mean, they pay the umpire $25 a game or something to do this and all that.
Right.
You're never going to be able to instill that system out here. And then Little League becomes old-fashioned, and then if you got to think there's trouble getting kids to play it now, what's it going to be in the future? That's one thing I have always said against the robot ump. But please continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it also takes away the conflict, and part of the beauty of baseball is conflict and aggression and arguing and all that and confrontation, right? So if you regulate everything, if you take away all the umpires and it's just automatic strike zone calls and replays and all this, you take away any confrontation. And what that does is it waters it down and makes it safe and boring. And I mean, I don't want to live in a society like that. I want sports. People should get angry. People should should get mad. There should be some confrontation, and it's beautiful. It's manly. We need more men. We need more umpires, and we need less robots.
Well, okay, I'll go with that. Now, of course, let's talk about Monday. And I mean, we exchanged a little bit on social media conversation about it. And I know that when I had my old friend Greg Brown, Pirates broadcaster, on here on Wednesday, and by the way, hey, if you haven't liked 1420 WEMB Sports Radio on Facebook yet, now's your time, because I've got that interviewed archived. And I asked him about the brawl that wasn't but did lead to 2 ejections on Monday between the Bucks and the Braves. And, he thought it was preposterous and all this. Myself, I'm like, look, if Musgrove is throwing down his glove and his hat, and Donaldson is acting either whiny or aggressive, and Nick Markakis is bringing a bat out onto the field, and all, I think it's a good idea to start ejecting people and to stop people from fighting. Now, Greg Brown seemed to say that, the bench clearing brawl is a part of the game. Yeah, okay, well, war is a part of the world, but I think you want to try to avoid it. Same thing with bench clearing brawls. Let's face this fact. Anyway, what was your thoughts on what transpired on Monday? Were the ejections legit? Did it prevent something from bigger happening? Or did this put the Pirates into an 0-2 count? Because, their starting pitcher got kicked out in the first inning, and that just ruined their entire staff for the series. What do you think?
Well, I got to tell you, I've got very low morals, as you know, Marky. And so, as a fan, I want to see rumbles. I want to see fights. And so I'm a little bit torn because I understand your sentiment. You want to avoid those things and you want to regulate those things. And I understand that. You don't want anybody to get injured, but I mean, a little brawl never hurt anybody. Now
I could tell you. Okay, I mean, and I mentioned this, and he was, well, it's a part of the game, but. Okay, since I was talking to Greg Brown, here's a kid from Pittsburgh coming up. My boy idol, Willie Stargell, is injured and kicked out for the season in a bench-clearing brawl back in 1977, and his season is limited to 63 games in a year where he already had 13 homers. So the pace of the day, that was a good year. Pirates finish in second place to the Phillies that year. You will never get me to believe that Stargell not only joins the 500 home run club if he doesn't get hurt in that brawl, but that the Pirates don't win the division in 77, okay? So I'm at a point where, look, I mean, I know it's a part of the game, but it's, like I said, like war. I mean, yeah, it's a part of the world, but we want to stop it when at all possible. I mean, Don Cherry is a hockey announcer. He's not a baseball announcer. Come on. I mean, that sort of thing. And I just... What if Donaldson had gotten into a brawl and, I don't know, he gets beat up, and I know he's only hitting .236, but so what? He's a starting third baseman, and he's out for the year. What if Nick Markakis fractures Musgrove's skull with his bat? I mean, come on. I think it's a good idea to stop this from happening.
I mean, well, first of all, nobody's going to injure Josh Donaldson. Have you seen Josh Donaldson? He's got the physical.
Stargell was 6'3", 230. Come on,
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I didn't realize that. Had Stargell not missed the season, you're right. He would have been in the 500 club. That's cool. And same with Fred McGriff. Had the strikeout happen, they would both been all.
There you go. Yeah, and Stargell's in the Hall of Fame, but McGriff would be. Yes, 500 home runs. I think that would have gotten him in, certainly.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't. I know you're a professional, Mark. You have to keep it professional. You can't say what you think, all the time on the air.
Yes, I do say that most of the time. You want to tell that the meetings I have with management, I am the most outspoken host in this market. There may be some more in others, but in this market, trust me, and I've been told by nobody's got the guts that I do, and I've been told that by my brethren. But go ahead, yes.
You're telling me you wouldn't pay to see Nick Markakis, throw shake with the bat?
I mean, I'm the guy who wants fighting just gotten rid of in hockey, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, because I've been to hockey games, okay, where I remember one time Martin St. Louis, if you remember him with the Lightning, and all of a sudden he looks like he's going to start on a breakaway, and this is really exciting. There could be a goal coming up here, and then two goons in back of the zone are going at it, and it prevents a scoring opportunity. And I'm thinking, I didn't come to see that. I came to see Louis put it in the net, or a goalie make a great save on him and such. Look, I didn't come to see Nick Markakis take a bat out onto the field to hit a Pittsburgh Pirate with, or to say, because I came to see Nick Markakis hit the pitches of Joe Musgrove over the fence or whatnot.
Okay. I respect that. But hockey's different because hockey overplayed its hand with the fighting.
Yeah, they did. By the way, 15%. 15. I know that Atlanta no longer has a hockey team, and they were that was unethical with what happened not once but twice in the NHL. But nevertheless, so what? We've got them in Nashville and Carolina and all over the place. Then now, 15%. Only 15% of NHL games have a fight in it now. Did you know that?
Yeah, and I think that's actually good. I will.
Yeah.
As a new-ish hockey fan, I will agree with you and say that back in the day, to your point, you're watching a game, and it was just too much. A fight was happening just to prevent any kind of play. It was annoying. Mm-hmm. But now I think 15% is good. Yeah.
I would like to see zero. I covered high school hockey, and I did see 2 fights in high school. I covered it for 7 years, and I saw 2. And actually for 8 years I covered it, and because you're not supposed to have it there. And one was one player just giving a cheap shot after he had knocked him down, and it was in a playoff game. And the referees were very, very friendly, and they gave him roughing, because if they gave him fighting, he would have been suspended for the championship game. So they gave him roughing and basically kicked him out for the day. But that was legitimate. I saw him throwing blows down on a guy who was down. I probably should have been suspended. That was one. Another was this is, I hope I don't lose my audience here talking about this, but 18 years ago, the Pennsylvania State Championship was decided when a coach by the name of Jim McVeigh went to a stick call, which is a very rarely used element. And what happens is if the opposing stick is not up to snuff, you get a power play. But if it is up to snuff, the other team gets a power play. So it's a stick check. They're down by a goal. He makes the gutsy move to call it. I guess he kind of knew. So he sort of held it in the back, like that ace in the back of the back pocket or up your sleeve or something. And sure enough, and his team, Bethel Park, it goes on a power play, ties the game up. They win it in overtime. You should have seen hockey officials. I'll never forget this. As literally every player on both teams are on the ice fighting, and the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Hockey League officials are wheeling out their trophies in the middle of this brawl. I mean, you've never seen anything like this. And I mean, you couldn't forget that. But that was the only other time. And not even that. I mean, yeah. What about, Braves are going to play Philly. Those were Philly people? Think about that for a second. I mean, we lost in overtime on fair and square on a stick call, and so we're going to beat up the winning team. That is so Philly, is it not?
That's very Philly.
Okay, so you see where...
That's the most Philly thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, so you see where you don't want... So you see where I am with this, where it's like, prevent the fights. I mean, that's the thing. Prevent them. I'm telling you. That's where I'm going with this, Josh. Okay, anyway, so we've gone into that, and that's our take on Monday, and you kind of think that the umpires should let them play, and I don't think that includes fighting. So anyway, we'll go with that right now. I do want to talk about Braves-Phillies. This is the way I look at it. Okay. Am I overstating this series, which will be before Game 81, but based on the events of last week, McCutchen going down, Keuchel coming to the Braves, that this actually is must-win for the Phillies, that they've got to come in to Atlanta, they've got to, maybe take the 3-game series 3-0 and get back into first place or so to make a statement right now, because if the Braves advance their 1.5 game lead in the division, that really does send, hey, look, who's the team to beat now, Philadelphia? All that money you spent, who's the team to beat now? I mean, I really think that this is more than just, jockeying towards the second half of the season. Do you share that, or am I overstating the series?
No, I share it. I think you're pretty spot on for sure, and I think knock on wood, I think the Braves have the better team and the better starting pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've said that all along. Yeah.
Yeah. And if the Braves win, then the unpaid Braves bloggers on Twitter will complain and say that they only won because the Phillies are so bad. And then if the Braves lose, the same unpaid Braves bloggers will cry because they lost. So,
all right.
Either way, I have podcast content.
Even though you have podcast, when are you returning to Knockahoma Nation?
Marky, I'm returning Sunday in a blaze of glory.
And that'll be right after the Braves and Phil, and so we'll have this commentary on that. And yeah, again, I do think it's a very big series, and there's a lot to be determined. Yeah, I do think that the Braves could be on the left lane and put the hammer down after that, so to speak, if, let's say, they sweep this. But then again, that'd be 4.5 game lead, for crying out loud. Then again, when you're looking at the 10-game winning streak, come on. Then again, yeah.
It'll be tough to pull it off. They could do it, but yeah, 10-game winning streak, it'd be tough. But yeah, I think the Braves. Do you think the Braves have the ability to just kind of run away with it? Maybe.
It just seems like, there's enough talent in this division where they shouldn't run away with it, but you've got Kapler trying to be players manager by treating his players by numbers, and I still truly believe that the manager means a hell of a lot in baseball. We get Colin Cowherd coming up next, and he says, it's a reason why they call it the manager and not the coach. I just think baseball is so strategically orientated, and I know that now, we want to hire, Alex Cora to be the manager because he'll get along with the players, and you don't need, we do formula strategy and all this, but I just think that it is important because of strategy and such. And like I said, trying to treat, saying I treat my players like they're people and then managing them like numbers and formula, I just don't see that. I think you have Mickey Callaway asking Mike Francesa if he should send his players to the home run derby, if you saw that. The Marlins are the Marlins, and you have the Nats. I think it can overcome Bryce Harper and all that not being in there. But again, they've got the kudzu of Scott Boras all over them. And I just think that the other 4 teams are so horribly run that the Braves ought to win this division. If it's by a game, if it's by 10, whatever. Yeah, I do think that.
Yeah. I think they've got a good chance to actually not just, win it, a game or 3 games ahead. I think they could run away with it.
There you go.
It'd be a fun summer.
Well, if the winning streak goes to 10, then it's 4.5, and there's something out there, and the Phillies will be looking to make some sort of move to get back in a race. I'll just say that. But anyway, he's Josh Brown, Knockahoma Nation. Yeah, after this big Phillies-Braves series, go listen to his podcast and all that. And listen 1:30 on Friday, because we do have a good time, don't we, here? Anyway, Tri-City Sports Now.
We do.
Anyway.
Prevention.